Monic Ductan. I teach here at Tech. I've been here since 2018. My area of specialization is creative writing, specifically fiction writing. I also teach the sophomore level literature classes, and I teach African American Lit for the majors, the 4,000 level African American Lit. So my book is called Daughters of Muscadine. It is a collection of 9 short stories. They're all set in rural Georgia, where I'm from. And most of them are set in the same small town. It's a town I invented in Northeast Georgia called Muscadine. So it's working class people in a small town. It's 9 different narrators, and there's a little bit of overlap in their stories. I'm working on writing a novel, but my book is short stories, which is, slightly different from a novel. But I started writing seriously when I was in graduate school. So, like I said, it's 9 stories. About half of them I wrote when I was a student in my MFA and my PhD programs. And then the other half I wrote since I came here to Tech and started teaching writing. So it took me years to put my book together. I'm not one of those writers who writes every day. I kind of write in spurts whenever I'm in the mood to do it. But I know that a lot of writers can, punch out a book in a year or less, but I've just never been one of those. So, yeah, the writing process was the thing that took the longest time. And then you have to look for a publisher. I got lucky and I knew somebody who solicited the book from me. So I knew an editor at a press, and that's how I got it published. The process of publication was fairly, it wasn't too tough. It's just a lot of revision and going back and doing edits. And so I worked closely with, I guess I would call him like a content editor or a developmental editor. So he had questions about some of the stories that he wanted me to go back and address. So I did that and went through edits with him, and then after that it went through 2 rounds of copy editing. So that's going back and fixing, things like grammar or punctuation. So I did 2 rounds of that. The whole process took maybe over a year, probably about a year and a half. So between when they accepted it and when it came out and was published. I always tell my students, you want to think about what sort of writing you're doing. So I publish with a university press. It's University of Kentucky Press. And the fiction that they publish, they have an imprint called Fireside Industries. And they publish mostly, I would say, rural fiction. Stories about small towns, which is exactly what my book is. So I would say in order to find a publisher, you have to kind of know where your book fits into the market. So if you are writing Southern fiction, the sort of stuff that I write, then you wouldn't send it to a publisher who's not looking for that. Or if you're writing, let's say, sci-fi, then you're going to look for an agent or a publisher or somebody who handles that sort of writing, because you have to really know what your genre is, what your style is, before you're ready, I think, to find a publisher. Just don't give up. We hear all these stories about people whose books are rejected 100 times, and then that 101st, or how do you say it? Number 101 gets accepted, right? So just don't give up. You have to be tenacious. And also, I think in this business, you have to be able to accept rejection. Not just for books, but then also stories. I publish stories in magazines. Sometimes they get accepted, but most of the time it's just a no. And you have to be able to take the no and just keep writing.